If you're trying to make money online and you're trying to break past that crucial first milestone of making your first £100, then you should find this video really helpful. Because what I'm going to do is walk you through the process of how I made my first £100 of online business and break it down into 7 relatively simple steps that you can follow along with. And also I'm going to show you how it can be done without spending any of your own money up front. Making money online is something that can make big changes to your lifestyle, and it's something that I personally think is achievable for a lot of people out there if you're willing to put in the time and effort. However, it's not easy and there's a lot of conflicting information out there on the subject, and it can get very confusing and overwhelming if you're a beginner. So what I want to do in this video is share with you a bit about my personal story, show you how I first started generating a regular income online, show you the type of work that I did and why I think it's best for beginners. And I also want to walk you through the exact process that I used, the exact platform that I used, walk you through the entire thing from start to finish, show you exactly how you can generate that first £100 of online income. And that is a really good motivating milestone to hit, and it's a great springboard to then move towards generating a full-time income online. So just really quickly, here is a brief overview of what the video is going to contain, and as always there will be links in the description so that you can jump to any of these sections, but I would recommend watching the whole video in full if you want to get the best results from it. Firstly, I want to give you a quick overview on my background in online business, so tell you how I first got started, what my current businesses are now, and that's just because I think if you're going to listen to anybody's advice in any subject, then you should see some evidence that they have actually achieved results in the thing that they're teaching you about. Secondly, I'm going to explain why I think that online freelancing is the best way for a beginner to start making money online. I'm going to show you what it is, why it worked for me, and how it set me on a path to becoming a full-time business owner. And for the main part of the video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 steps to make your first £100 online with online freelancing. I'm going to do this by giving you lots of screen shares showing the exact website I use, and really just trying to give you everything that you need so that you can go away and do this on your own. And as usual, there'll be lots of links to helpful resources in the description below the video, so you might want to open that up. And of course, if you are hovering the mouse down that way, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button. Not only does it help the channel, but this is going to be a really long detailed video, so you'll probably need to save it so you can come back and review it at a later date. Okay, so I just want to really quickly share my story with you just to give you a bit of background on what my experience is with online business. So I own a website called standoutcv.com, which is currently one of the UK's biggest CV advice websites, and its main purpose is to help people land the jobs they want by teaching them how to write a good CV. It's had over 5 million visitors since I started in 2014, and it generates income through selling advertising space to businesses and also by selling CV writing services to personal customers. I have some other smaller websites and online projects, but standoutcv.com is by far and away my biggest source of income. But before I created this website, I had no idea about how to make money online. I had never worked in a digital job or an online job before, and I'd actually spent a few years prior to that trying to start some kind of business, but I'd never managed to make any of them profitable. That is until around 2012, 2013 when I discovered online freelancing. I started doing online freelancing work on the side of my full-time job, and what I was doing was charging people to rewrite their CVs for them, or resumes if you're in the US. And that was the first time I was ever able to generate a consistent online profit with any kind of business. I did it for about a year, and during that time I earned around £10,000 by working on it during the evenings and weekends. But more importantly than the money, it taught me so much about online business and really allowed me to build a foundation of knowledge about online business and digital marketing in general, which then allowed me to go on and create my own website, which then I later on was able to generate a full-time income from and quit my day job. So enough about me. What is online freelancing and why do I think it is the best way to start making money on the internet? Online freelancing is when an individual like you or me provide digital services to a business or another person and charge them a fee for doing it. These services can be anything from writing a product description for a website or entering data into a spreadsheet, all the way to more advanced things like graphic design or web development. So you've got lots of flexibility to find and choose a service that's right for you, and I'll talk a bit more about how you do that a bit later in the video. And what's actually made this a lot easier in recent years is that a lot of freelance marketplace websites have popped up which are full with businesses and people who are looking and willing to pay for services. So essentially what these websites do is they connect sellers like you with the people that want to buy your services. So this has made things a lot easier. Places like People Per Hour and Fiverr.com are incredibly popular with small business owners who are looking for freelance services, and the platforms make it really straightforward for someone like you to set up a profile quite quickly and start selling your services straight away. So why do I think that online freelancing is the best way to start making money online as a beginner? Number one is that it doesn't cost anything to start. It's totally free to sign up to any of these freelance websites. They don't charge you any money up front. and they only take a small percentage fee of the sales that you make after you've made them, so you keep the vast majority of the money that you make on those platforms. Now, if you compare that to something like selling products on Amazon or starting a blog, those things can work really, really well, but they will have setup costs and they will have running costs. And that's not really good if you're a beginner, because A, you might not have the money to spend in the first place, and B, it's not a good idea to be risking too much money before you've actually learned how to generate money. Number two is that you can start earning instantly. So when you provide freelance services on any of these online platforms, you invoice the buyer from within the platform, and the platform itself actually encourages the buyers to pay within a few days. And that means that you can actually start generating an income within your first month. And in the world of online business, that is very, very fast. And if you compare that to something like starting a blog or a YouTube channel, they're both very, very valid ways of making money online, but they can take months or even years before you start to turn a profit. And I can tell you that from personal experience, because I've actually done both of those things myself. Number three is that it teaches you online business within a risk-free environment. Now, that might sound a bit strange, but what I mean by that is when you are offering freelance services on these platforms, it's almost like you're running your own mini business within the platform, because you have to learn how to attract and win customers on the platform. You have to learn how to provide those services effectively. You have to learn how to deal with customers in general, and you learn how to create a good reputation within that marketplace. It's a really good way to learn the basics of online business, and it certainly helped me to prepare for going it alone and starting my own standalone website. The best way I can think of describing it is it's like riding a bike with stabilizers. You're still riding the bike, but you've got the support of the stabilizers to hold you up. When you're using one of these platforms, you are running your own business, but you're doing it from within a platform that gives you a lot of support in doing that, and a lot of support in connecting you with your potential customers. And you don't have to worry about a lot of the things that you would if you were running a fully standalone business. For example, you don't have to worry about paying for web hosting or cash flow or where to run your next advertising campaign. All you have to do is focus on finding your customers within that platform, connecting with them, and delivering your service. So overall, I found online freelancing an amazing way to start making money online, because it was totally risk-free to start. It allowed me to start earning money straight away, and it just taught me so much about online business and digital marketing. So now that you understand what online freelancing is and why it's such a good starting point for making money online, let's walk through the 7 steps that you need to follow to make that first £100 and start moving towards making a regular income online. And to break this down, let's say that as a beginner, you start off charging £10 per service for your service. Now, obviously, you will be able to increase that rate a lot as you gain more experience as time goes on. But let's say that you start off charging £10 per service. In order to hit that target of your first £100, you just need to make 10 sales of those services. So essentially what I'm doing with this walkthrough is just showing you how to make 10 sales on these platforms following the way that I did it. Step number 1 is really easy, and that is just to sign up to a freelance website. Now, there are quite a few out there, but the 2 I would recommend are People Per Hour, or PPH for short. And the reason I recommend this one is because it's actually the one that I used to sell freelance services on when I was a freelancer. And I still use it to this day to actually buy freelance services from freelancers for my business. It's a really good platform. It has lots of active buyers, and it's really, really easy to use. It's a UK-based site, but both sellers and buyers on the platform come from all over the world, so it doesn't matter where you're based. Anybody can sign up to be a seller on the platform. Then there's Fiverr, which is a US site, but again, the buyers and the sellers come from all over the world, so you can sign up from anywhere. It doesn't matter where you're based. I've never worked as a freelancer on Fiverr, but I do use it occasionally to hire freelancers for my business, so I know the platform fairly well, and I know there are a lot of freelancers on there making a good income. There are lots of other sites out there, but PPH and Fiverr are by far the biggest with the most active buyers on them, so I would recommend going with either of those. You could of course sign up to both sites at the beginning, but I would recommend going with one platform, sticking with it, learning it really well, and then maybe a bit later on down the line you could expand to more sites. But I think when you're first starting out, it makes sense to really focus on one. If you try and use 2 at the beginning, it might get a bit overwhelming. So just get yourself signed up to one of those sites, have a play around with it. All you need to do is just enter an email address and a few simple details, and you'll be up and signed in within a few minutes. Okay, so step 2 is where things get a little bit more involved, and that is picking the service that you will deliver. So if you have a scroll through PPH and Fiverr, you'll see that there is a huge range of different services that people offer. And this may seem a bit much at first, but actually it's really good, because it means that you should be able to find something that suits you. So there are a few ways you can approach this, but basically you just need to pick a service that is A, in demand, meaning that a lot of people want to buy it, and B, something that you can do well so that you can deliver a good service to customers. You just need to scroll through the platforms and look at all of the offers or gigs being offered by sellers, and on both platforms you can see figures for how many times a service has been sold. And you don't necessarily need to pick the most in-demand service on either of the platforms, you just need to see some evidence that people are making regular sales of those services, because that means that there are active buyers in the space, and active buyers are what you need to make money. And to find something you can do well, there's a couple of different approaches you can take. Obviously, if you already have something that you do in your current job or as a hobby on the side that matches some of these services, then that's great. You can obviously look to sell those as a service. However, if you don't currently have any skills that you can sell, that's fine. It just means that you'll have to learn one. Now, obviously that's going to take you a bit of time, but in my opinion, learning a skill that you can charge people money for is a very, very good use of your time. Now, obviously some things will take longer to learn than others. And if you're looking to get started quickly, then I would recommend starting with a basic skill, something like virtual assistant type work, data entry, or very basic writing tasks. Now, these things aren't the highest paid skills on these platforms, but they do allow you to get started quickly and start selling services in a relatively short space of time. And also, once you start making sales of those services, you can then look to start developing your skills. So for example, you might start off doing data entry and move into doing data analysis, or you might start off writing basic articles and then slowly move into doing more complex writing work like sales copy and things like that. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're increasing the value of the service you're able to offer people, and that means you're going to be able to increase your rates of pay. Or perhaps whilst you start off selling basic services, you could even learn a whole new skill on the side. So you could start off doing things like data entry and writing, but on the side you could be learning graphic design, you could be learning coding, you could be learning video editing, and that kind of work can see you earn really, really high rates of pay. And the best thing about this is that all of the services you see being sold on PPH and on Fiverr can all be learned for free right here on YouTube. I've learned everything that I know about building websites and running online businesses from either reading articles or watching YouTube videos, and I've personally never paid for a course. There are some good courses out there on places like Udemy and Skillshare which can teach you a lot, but personally I think there's more than enough free information out there to get you started. And if you do really feel that you need to pay for a course, that's fine, but just don't spend more than you can afford. I think paying between £10 and £50 for a course is okay, maybe even £100 if it's a really specialist technical subject that you really need. But please don't be roped into buying one of these courses that costs hundreds or even thousands of pounds, because then it becomes something that might potentially financially ruin you if it doesn't work out, and obviously that is not ideal. So take your time picking a service to offer, have a look around both of the platforms, see what services are out there, have a look at some YouTube videos, practice a few different things, try some things out, see what you enjoy, see what you pick up easily, and just give something a go. And remember, you always have the option to change and try new things later down the line, so don't stress out about picking the perfect thing the first time round. As I said, when I first started, I did freelance CV writing, which is essentially writing other people's CVs for them. Now, I used to work in recruitment at the time, so I had a basic idea of what a good CV should look like, but I didn't really know the process of rewriting someone's CV or the consultation process that was involved. So I essentially picked something that I sort of knew, but I still had to learn a few new skills, which involved just reading a few blogs online, watching some videos to kind of merge those two things and become good at delivering that service. The next step after you've chosen a platform and picked the type of service you're going to deliver is to create a profile on whichever platform you've chosen. Now, the features of these profiles differ slightly between People Per Hour and Fiverr, but essentially they allow you to add three things. That is a photograph, a text description of yourself, and a portfolio section where you can upload examples of your work. And these profiles are basically like your shop window, so you need to make them look appealing as possible to encourage buyers to buy from you. So I've got some tips for creating a profile, but before I go into them, I'm actually thinking about making some templates to help people write freelance profiles, some downloadable templates. So if you think that's something you might find helpful, let me know in the comments below, and if I get enough interest, I will make some freelance profile templates. So tip number one is to use a real photo of yourself. All you need to do is get a photo taken of yourself wearing something relatively smart with yourself smiling in it. And the reason to use a real photo is because buyers on these platforms like to buy from real people, and they like to see who they're buying from. It just creates more trust. So if you have a real photo of yourself, you're much more likely to make sales than if you're somebody who's hiding behind a logo or a graphic or something like that. Tip number two is that when you're writing the text description in your profile, make sure you do the following three things. Offer a very specific specific narrow set of services. So don't just write in your profile that you can do every service under the sun in an attempt to try and get everybody to buy from you, because it just won't work. And the reason it won't work is because buyers look for experts in that particular type of service that they're looking for. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for a person to design an infographic for me. I'm going to be looking for a graphic design expert. So when I'm running a search on the platform, I'm not going to be looking for someone that does a bit of writing, a bit of coding and a bit of graphic design. I'm going to be looking for someone that focuses and specializes in design work, because they're going to be the most likely person to carry out a good design work job. And if your profile is jumbled and you are offering lots of different random services that aren't connected, then when buyers are searching for specific skills, it's very unlikely that your profile is going to show up in those search results. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you are offering a very, very narrow, specific set of services. And you should also focus on explaining how your services help to solve your buyers' problems. So let's say, for example, you're a writer, then your typical buyer is likely to be perhaps a website owner. And the kind of problems they have are things like they need lots of content, they need it quickly, they need it error-free so they don't have to spend lots of time checking it. So when you're writing your profile, try to put yourself in the shoes of those buyers, think about what problems they have and explain how your skills can help to solve those problems for them. And the last profile tip is that you should include lots of examples of your work in the portfolio section of the profile. Because if you expect people to buy from you, then realistically you're going to have to show them what you're capable of, especially if you're new to the platform. So even if you've not done real client work before, just put together some practice pieces, or maybe even do a mock piece for a friend or a few friends, and just try and upload as many examples of your work as you possibly can. It doesn't matter if it's written work, design work, videos, whatever it is, just try to showcase as much of your work as you possibly can. Step 4 is to create adverts within the platforms. So within either of these platforms, you can create adverts for a specific service that you're going to deliver for a particular price. On PPH, they are called offers, and on Fiverr, they're called gigs. So for example, if you're offering writing services, you might have one advert that offers a 500-word article, and you might have another advert that offers a 1,000-word blog post, and so on and so on. And really, you just want to try and make as many of these as possible and cover a wide range of services within your niche. Because once you've created them, these adverts just sit there forever on the platform, and when buyers search for those services, your adverts can appear. People can visit them and they can order them. So it's good to have as many as possible so that you can passively generate orders. And the idea when writing them is to be really specific about what you're offering, and again, focus on explaining how the service will benefit a potential buyer. And I'm actually thinking about creating some more templates for writing adverts on these platforms. So again, if that's something that might be of interest to you, please let me know in the comments below. And if I get enough requests, I will make some. And the next thing you need to do for step 5 is to bid on jobs that are being posted by buyers. So what this means is that buyers go onto the platform and they post a job for a specific request for a job that they need doing. So basically, when you're doing this, you just search the platform for job requests in your niche by using different keywords that relate to that niche. And you write a proposal to the buyer and try to persuade them to hire you for the job. So if we look at this job here, for example, this person is looking for a copywriter to do a specific piece of copywriting for them. If you wanted to propose to this job, you just need to write your message in this box here, tell them what it is you're offering, tell them exactly why they should hire you, and you set a price for the fee that you want to charge for that particular job. And then that message and the fee will go through to that person, and then they can decide whether or not they want to hire you. So this is obviously a much more active way of getting jobs in than the adverts, but in the early stages, this will be the most effective way for you to actually land work on either of these platforms. And I won't lie to you, during your first few weeks on either of these platforms, you'll find it very, very hard to land work. And this is simply because you're brand new to the platform, you've got no feedback on your profile, and you'll compete against other freelancers who do have feedback. And 9 times out of 10, buyers will usually go with the people who have feedback. It's just like when you're shopping on Amazon, you'll usually be quite reluctant to buy a product if it has no customer reviews on it already. So in those early stages, you've just got to put in a lot of work searching for jobs, applying to as many as possible, writing a custom proposal for each one, going in with low prices, and really just trying to give buyers as many reasons as possible to buy from you. When I first started working as a freelancer on People Per Hour as a CV writer, I would stay up all night writing proposals to people, and the majority of them ignored me, and it is a little bit disheartening, to be honest. But I eventually did manage to land a job. I wrote somebody's CV for £10, which actually wasn't a lot of money for the work involved. But what it allowed me to do was to then ask that person for feedback, which I could put on my profile. And once you get that first bit of feedback to put on your profile, it's a complete game changer. And that brings me nicely on to step 6, which is to gather feedback. Feedback is so important on these platforms because the more good feedback you have on your profile, the more likely people are to buy from you and the more money you can charge. So with every job you do, make sure you do everything within your power to make sure that all of your buyers leave good reviews for you. And that always starts with doing a really good job with all of your services. So you have to provide everything you promise, and you have to do everything within your power to make that customer happy. I mean, for those first few clients, you really have to roll the red carpet out. And it finishes with asking for feedback. Most buyers on these platforms won't leave feedback unless you ask them. And that's simply because they're busy and they've got other stuff on their mind. So after you've delivered that good piece of work to a customer and you've confirmed they're happy with it, then simply ask them to leave you some feedback. Just say something like, I'm really glad that you're happy with the work. If you could leave me some feedback, I'd massively appreciate it and you'd really be helping me out. And if you ask for feedback in a genuine, nice way like that, having already delivered some good work, then 9 times out of 10, people will leave good feedback for you. And because all of this feedback appears on your adverts, on your shop window, then buyers will start to trust you more. You'll find it much easier to win jobs. People will start to buy from your adverts, and you can slowly start to raise your prices. And just to give you an example of this, I actually started off, as I said, writing CVs for £10 per CV on People Per Hour. But over time, as I gradually built my reputation, built the feedback on my profile, I was eventually able to increase my rates to £100 per CV. So you've just got to be really determined and persistent in the early stages. Keep plugging away at it, keep writing proposals. It will be tough. But once you start getting those few jobs in and you start getting a few bits of feedback on the profile, I promise you it gets much easier from that point onward. And step 7 is to simply repeat and refine that process. So it's really just about repeating the steps until you make those first 10 sales, until you make that first £100. Because once you break past that barrier, that's a great confidence booster and you'll have learned so much about online business. And from there, you're on a really good platform to move forwards and start working towards the next big milestone, which is making your first £1,000 online. And that is where things start to get a bit more exciting. And to do this, you'll need to do things like adding new services to your freelance profile, learning new skills that pay more money, like video editing, digital marketing, web development, and branching out onto multiple freelance sites. Now, before I wrap up this video, I just want to really quickly ask, what would you like to learn about in my next video? So perhaps you want to hear more about how to write freelance adverts, or perhaps you want to hear some more about the different types of skills you can offer as a freelancer, or how to write proposals and win jobs. So whatever you want to learn about in my next video, drop a comment below, tell me what you'd like to learn, and I will make my next video based on those suggestions. So thanks very much for watching, and best of luck in making your first £100 online.